Yo friends, welcome to Next Level Consciousness with Linnea Stella. Today we are going to talk about the one key to happiness. And since happiness is an emotion, we will start by looking at emotions. Because emotions is one of the most misunderstood facets of being human. And we have already talked about the mind, we've talked about the body, the spirit. Emotions are like the glue that bind all the other aspects of you together. Now, emotions are often seen as a weakness, right? That's what we hear in society, that you shouldn't be that sensitive, you shouldn't be that emotional. If you know about astrology, I am a Cancer Sun, Pisces Moon, so I am all water, all emotions. And I often heard growing up that stop being so sensitive and you are too emotional, which is like the worst thing that you can hear when you are that combination that I am. Because I learned as a kid that emotions are something bad. Emotions means that you are dramatic. Emotions mean that you are not a rational person. So the extrapolation that I did is that if you're emotional, you're not really intelligent, right? It's like if you are too happy, you are not intelligent, and that's just not right. It has nothing to do with each other. So I learned that emotions are something bad, and that they, by definition, means that you are dramatic and that you can't really contain yourself, because this is a common misunderstanding. That if we allow ourselves to feel the emotions, we also completely lack a filter, and we just allow ourselves to express the emotions that we feel in the moment. We're just reacting to the emotions with no filter whatsoever. That doesn't need to be the case. I can feel anger, I can feel sadness, I can feel upset, I can feel annoyed. That doesn't mean that I am just expressing it to everyone around me, taking it out on people around me. No, that just means that I am allowing for those energies to pass through me, because emotions are just energy in motion. And in fact, I might be a little biased since I am a Cancer Sun, Pisces Moon, and I have a lot of emotions, but I would argue that emotions are not a weakness, but they are your superpowers. And we can go on a tangent about emotions because it's something that I am very passionate about, as you can see. But I really believe that emotions are the language of your soul. Because imagine when you are in love, you're really in that state that is so ineffable that you can't explain in words. It is really the highest and strongest emotions that human can feel. But also other high vibrational emotional states, you really feel like you're in contact with something bigger. Call it source, God, greater intelligence, your higher self. But when you are vibrating at a very high frequency, you are in touch with something that is beyond the human level, and that's when life becomes magical. I also believe if we continue to go down the rabbit hole, we are gonna come to the point of this and see what the one key to happiness is. But I also believe that the fundamental unit of the universe is not time. It's not space, but it is energy. So mastering emotions is really equal to me to mastering energy. Like you can't really master energy without being in touch with your emotions, because that's how you interact with energy. It doesn't go through the intellect. It's not something that you can read yourself to. It's not something that you can watch a documentary and you can learn how to manipulate and how to play with the universe, with energy. You have to be open to feel. As you can see, I'm very passionate about this topic. My life purpose is to help people feel more and to help people to be more in touch with their emotions and not less, to increase the collective emotional intelligence on Earth. And the only way that we can do that is by increasing the emotional intelligence of us as individuals, because we are the collective. And the reason I believe that emotions have gotten a bad rap is that many people, really, as I said in the beginning, are associating being emotional and being in touch with your emotions as expressing them mindlessly, unconsciously, just reacting instead of responding, and consciously choose how you want to express the emotions. And then to complicate stuff, we also have the very strong emotional state of fear that can pollute your emotions, that can distort your emotions, and make you believe that it is not safe to trust them. Because if you have acted out of fear instead of love, your emotions may have guided you wrong, in the direction that is not the most aligned direction. That is my definition of wrong, because what is right or wrong, really? But your emotions are going to give you very accurate guidance, and they are going to lead you right when you are connected to your heart. When you are in love and not in fear. That is when you get super clear guidance that you can trust. And I like to make an analogy, because I like analogies, to having a Zoom call. And if your internet connection is stable, you're gonna hear the message that the other person is trying to convey, and maybe they have a beautiful presentation that they have prepared for you. You're gonna see the message is gonna go through clearly with no disturbance, okay? But what if you are, for example, in Costa Rica? No offense, I love Costa Rica. But when I was living there, the Wi-Fi was really bad. And sometimes when I was having Zoom calls or other type of calls online, I couldn't hear what the other person was saying. So maybe in those instances when I couldn't hear, my mind was filling in the gaps in a subjective way, okay? Because that's how the mind works. It was filling in the gaps, and it was like, okay, she probably said that, he probably said that. And that is when you get a distorted view of what was really said. A view that is not objectively true. And maybe you see where I'm going with this. Most people on earth are in a state of fear. I think that the last couple of years have shown that many people are out of touch with their hearts. But luckily that is changing quickly. And that is why I'm here talking to you right now, because you deserve to live from your heart. You deserve to live with emotions as your guidance, as your compass that is pointing you right in all times, at all times. Because your emotions are so much more accurate and valid guidance than your mind. Your mind is but a sheet of paper in infinite hyperspace, and your emotions have access to everything around that. They're gonna give you a much bigger and much more accurate view of what is really going on. So they are just a life hack that is gonna make you master life so much better and master relationships. And as you may know, I am also a huge fan of human design. I actually have my own human design academy in Swedish, where I teach people how to read charts. And emotions have a very central role in human design, because either you have emotional authority or you do not have emotional authority. And it's about 50-50 if you have it or not. And now the interesting thing is that the way that you manage and the way that you process, the way that you perceive and relate to your emotions is going to be very different. If you have emotional authority, which means that you have a defined solar plexus energy center, versus if you have an undefined emotional solar plexus center or you don't have emotional authority. That's a topic for another time. I'm not going to look into that. I really encourage you to look up your human design. You can do it online for free, and you can see, do I have emotional authority or not? That is going to give you very valuable guidance for how you can deal with your emotions. So the key to have a healthy relationship to your emotions is really to learn how to manage them. And okay, I feel this lower vibrational emotion. Is this the right context to express it? Can I find a healthy way to express it? Because you don't just want to mindlessly express it, but you don't just want to suppress it either. You want to have a way of processing it. So don't just express, don't suppress, but process your emotions. That's the key. And you may ask yourself, but Linnea, how do I do it? Yeah, and there are many ways that you can get in touch with your emotions, but the simplest way is to just take 2 minutes a day where you are sitting still in meditation and you are allowing yourself to feel, because that is the medicine. To allowing yourself to feel without judgment. That is the bottom line, really, of all practices that you can do related to emotions. Allowing yourself to feel. And I am someone who is usually a very positive person and very happy, and I tend to see the glass as half full. And in the rare instances where I feel low emotions arising, I have a tendency to not wanting to feel them, I'm gonna be honest. And I have learned throughout the years that is not the way. Running away from the lower vibrational emotions is not the way that we deal with them, because they are gonna come back. Okay, you can't just sweep them up under the rug, because then you are gonna trip and fall on the rug later. So I have become somewhat of an expert in how to deal with emotions. And the way that I intuitively have learned to deal with this, that works really well with me, is to just think, okay, if I feel anxiety, if I feel sadness, if this was a little kid walking up to me and saying, hey, I feel a little anxious about this, I feel a little afraid, I feel a little sad, would you tell them, oh, but that's stupid, that's ridiculous? Of course you wouldn't. You would sit down with a child and you would say, hey, thank you for sharing this with me. Tell me what's on your heart, like, how do you feel? And that is exactly the way that I have learned to deal with my emotions, in the rare instances when I feel lower emotions. And if you feel them more than rarely, like, there's nothing wrong. I'm just sharing my experience, because I have also experienced the guilt of I feel too happy. Like, I feel almost guilty sometimes because I am in such a good mood. And I feel like I should be a little more sad, I should be a little more worried, because that's what I see other people expressing. So just know that it is okay to feel happy also. But we are getting to the point with this video. So the key to feeling happy is to become really good at feeling sad. So really, as I said, when you feel sadness, when you feel anxiety, when you feel the lower emotions arising, pause whatever you're doing. If I am on my laptop, I'm working, I'm like, oh, I have this deadline, I have to finish it. I'm closing the laptop and I am going to my bed and I'm sitting down. I give myself a hug and I'm gonna say, hey, what's up? How do you feel? What's going on? And then I hear a voice inside of me telling like, hey, yeah, this and this happened, and I got a little upset about that, and I'm a little worried about this, and I know it's a bit ridiculous. And then I'm like saying to that voice, I'm like having a conversation inside of my head. And I'm like, no, it's not ridiculous, like, tell me more. And I'm really pretending that I am talking to someone else, and that's really helping me. Especially I'm imagining that I'm talking to a little child, and maybe you want to imagine this as your inner child. That you're talking to your inner child and you're really letting them open up and expressing how they feel. And this can be so incredibly healing. And I have noticed that since I got into the habit of starting to do this, of every time I feel sadness, I open up for it. I allow it to be there without judgment. I started to feel even less sadness than before. So that's the key to being happy, to become really good at being sad. Thank you for watching, and I see you in the next video.